Thanks so much for having us on. I'll give a bit of background and sort of history on the Mâmawêyatitân Centre, and I guess how speak a little bit of how it's evolved over the last couple of years, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Lewis, who can talk about the Growing Young Movers program, which we're very proud of to be within that center. Our relationship goes back quite a ways. Brian and I completed my master's at the U of R and took a class with Brian actually in education and learned more about the Growing Young Movers program. And and we like at the city, we love the idea about youth mentorship, and so we had approached Brian, and Brian and I just had some discussions about how they could bring their program as sort of the lead after school program um, at the Mâmawêyatitân Centre. So we've been doing that for quite a few years, but as we'll get to shortly, we'll sort of speak how we've been able to grow the program within the center, and really turn the center into sort of a youth serving hub. So thanks for the intro. Just a bit of background. Mâmawêyatitân, the original name or project name was North Central Shared Facility. So this is where the center's located in North Central Regina. And it was really sort of a vision amongst some of the big partners in the City of Regina, Regina Public Schools, Health Authority, the public library to create sort of this unique, one of a kind space that many partners worked in and worked towards sort of shared outcomes. So in the beginning, referred to as North Central Shared Facility, throughout the consultation process, Indigenous engagement was very important. And they brought together a group of elders, which they consulted with on naming the space, which led to the name of Mâmawêyatitân, which represents that those values of working together, and in Cree means let's be all together. So doors opened in 2017, so we're not quite at the 10-year mark of the center, but we've learned lots over the years, and have recently been doing more dedicated strategic planning alongside our new partners, and new funding opportunities have allowed us to expand a little bit. Um, so as I mentioned, this space it's meant to be an integration facility. So it's partners are meant to be working together, when appropriate, work collaboratively to deliver programs and services to the community. So it's never meant, although I'll say, of course, the school board who's there, Scott Collegiate, the City of Regina, Public Library, they all have their business as usual, their things they're responsible for Monday to Friday. So that stays the same. But when there's opportunity to collaborate and create new innovative programs together, that's the goal of the space, is to work together to serve community. So the initial partners in the space, and initially they referred to the city, the school board, and the public library as sort of the owners of the space. So really the ones who contributed to funding the space, and developing the plan alongside the architects as well. Other partners in the beginning included the North Central Community Association, which is a nonprofit. They work out of the space. Chili for Children is also a nonprofit, provides free lunches to school kids in the community. Reach is also another food program, childhood hunger program, which does more food education, offers sort of grocery stores, etc. Regina Police Service is also located in the space. Their community sort of their community engagement unit. Fire and Protective Services, so they have their This is a branch of the City of Regina, and they have community education workers that also work within the space too. And then there's a daycare in the space too, Scott Infant Toddler Center. And of course, Brian's team is located in the space now, and a few other new partners too, which we talk about shortly. So the values within the space, really from day one: respect of staff, community, students, humility, honesty, and compassion. So this is a kind of a nice, the picture here, nice look of, so this is from the second floor, looking down to sort of the main concourse area. This is kind of the most active part of the space throughout the day. At any moment throughout the day, it's students, teachers, community members, staff, sort of navigating this space. This is typically the main floor. There is typically where folks are having lunch. It's just off the cafeteria, so it's a very, very busy little space throughout the day. Mama is meant to be a community hub. It's a extremely large space, spacious environment, meant to accommodate a variety of programs. So the space that you can see there is also in the concourse space. One of the unique events that we typically have quite often are round dances that are led by community. And the multi-purpose room, which is sort of our kind of gym space, the wall is all glass, but will open up. So the round dance can happen within that multi-purpose space, and then folks can also come out into the concourse area. So it just allows a really huge space for these large events and programs. Unlike traditional schools, this center is accessible all day. It's open to community. So um, while kiddos are going to school within this space, the doors are open. Community members can come in and access a variety of different programs and services as well. The center is bookable, so there's policies that have been created to establish and encourage partnership. So when nonprofits can apply to book spaces, we ask how they plan to collaborate or partner with either groups in the center already or other community groups. How is your program going to benefit community? Look, this isn't meant to be a space where we're generating revenue. It's meant to be people coming together, offering programs that impact community members. So, if there's an organization that says, hey, we want to do this service, this program, it's free, free to all members in the community. We want to partner with Growing Young Movers and the Community Association. Those are the types of things we look for when applications come in. Of course, within the values is that Indigenous first lens. North Central community is home to the highest population of Indigenous people in Regina. As I mentioned off the hop, Indigenous elders, knowledge keepers, and old ones were engaged throughout the process in creating this space, in naming the space, in designing the way that the space looked. In a minute, I'll talk about all the different spaces briefly, but we have a dedicated elders room that elders can come in, do ceremony. I would say Indigenous ceremony, whether it's just smudging, happens daily within this space, but along with other traditional celebrations and activities throughout the week, throughout the month, and throughout the year as well. Indigenous elders continue to provide guidance on this space. We currently work with an Indigenous Elders Advisory Committee, and we've engaged them on Brian's program, on how we can better engage youth within the space, how we can reintroduce culture and identity to some of the high school students who navigate the space as well. So this remains a priority within the space and how we offer programs and services. Here's just a quick little glance at all the spaces. We certainly have a variety of spaces throughout Mâmawêyatitân. I'll say the top floor is 100% school space. So this is where all the classroom spaces are. And then the bottom floor does have lots of classroom space, teacher collaboration space, but also houses a large multi-purpose room. This is where, Growing Young Movers offers their program. We would offer summer programs. This is the sort of highest bookable space where round dances would happen, other events in the evening. And then there's a gym as well. So this is the high school gym, which is more your typical sort of basketball gym where all the athletics would take place as well. We also have a dance studio, the elders room, as I mentioned, an art room, which is, I would say, mostly used by school as well. Our engagement room is sort of more of a modern, like games, sort of youth-based room, lots of different games, and TVs and sort of entertainment devices in there that youth utilize over lunch in the evenings. There's a full commercial kitchen, which is utilized by a program led by the high school and the students. So at lunch, students are providing and making food for folks in the space. So anyone from community can come in, can purchase food from the Scott Collegiate Kitchen. There's also a residential kitchen and sort of a teaching classroom that falls off of that as well. Say the commons area, it's kind of the most widely used space, very active throughout the day. The administration offices are collaborative as well. All our partners are in that space, including our principals of Scott Collegiate, our City of Regina staff, Brian's team, our community association, Chili for Children. So it's a really open, shared space. There's a maker space for woodworking. I'd say majority used by school as well, but it is also a bookable space for community. There's a dedicated community police space, and also the Scott Infant Toddler Care Center, and of course Regina Public Library. So they have a full, I'd say, wing of the space, which is a full library as well. So as just kind of looking at our new plans, as with most cities, I'd say around Canada, you're familiar with the Building Safer Communities Fund. We of course in Regina were lucky to receive 2.9 million in funding from the federal government. What we did with this new funding was really come together with youth serving organizations and we did a 3-day engagement session just to talk about intervention, prevention of sort of gang life, and what can we do as a city, what's needed. I think as professionals, we working within the space, we seem to think we have a good grasp on what's going to work and what youth want. And we've done engagement around gang prevention for years, but we really wanted to hear from youth again, and we dedicated a full day of just speaking to youth. And the items you see below: develop youth advisory committee, enhance programming, job opportunities, wraparound support, safe spaces, transportation, identity, culture. Those are directly coming from youth that came to the engagement. So the organization we worked with, our consultant, Aboriginal Consulting Agency, they developed our Building Safer Communities Action Plan and presented all these sort of goals, objectives to us, coming straight from youth. So the plan itself really centered on youth. And our idea right off the hop was, hey, let's invest in Mâmawêyatitân and turn this into a really youth-centered community hub. Youth working in the space, playing in the space, offering programs and services attending programs and services, having wraparound supports available to them, mentorship opportunities. Um, so we created this. The little picture you see there is kind of the one pager we developed just to show our model we developed for Mâmawêyatitân, which we named Centering Youth. We sort of, to see this through, we knew what was working already in the space, and we knew we needed some new partners as well. We knew Growing Young Movers already had their footprint within the space, and they were actively creating change within this space. So Growing Young Movers was really important for us to evolve our programming, job opportunities for youth. They oversaw the development of a new youth advisory committee, which is called North Central Strong. Brian can speak about the transportation program a little bit as well. Another strong partner that we brought in is RITSIS, which is Regina Treaty Status Indian Services. RITSIS is an Indigenous-owned organization, and their role within the space is to provide that Indigenous-focused wraparound service. RITSIS has been really involved in gang exiting within Regina, and has staff who have been working sort of within this space for many years. And we thought of them as a really strong partner to bring in as sort of more of an upstream preventative approach. They have good relationships with families. They have good tools to sort of offering more pro-social activities, interventions for children and families who may sort of be heading down that pathway into gang life. So they've been such a welcome partner into the space as well. And Community Social Impact Regina. This is our new community safety and well-being office in Regina. So this is a nonprofit organization that we developed coming out of our community safety and well-being plan. So they're that backbone organization in Regina for CSWB. And we brought them on as a partner to be sort of that evaluator and sort of measuring success. We know the Building Safer Communities, funding ends in 2026, so it was important for them to be brought on to help evaluate, measure success. How can we leverage other funding to keep these initiatives going? I'd say one of the main things youth told us at the consultation was, don't start a new program or initiative if you're just going to take it away in a few years. So we needed to make sure that we could sustain this program. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lewis here to speak about Growing Young Movers.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak a little bit about our organization. Dave, I'll just give you the switch slides when I'm ready here, if you're okay with that. It's good to see you, Dave. Anyway, back to everybody. So our organization has been in existence for 13 years now. It actually started way back when as a way for me to connect with young people in the community that I've never lived in. So I was starting my PhD and wanting to understand the experiences of young people within this community, and specifically what it was like for them to grow up, go to school, and navigate their way through life as a young person. So our organization is really focused on employment for young people in connection with attainment of grade 12 education, or making their way through school. I am a teacher, trained teacher. I've taught for, like I think it was said, for I think almost 28 years now at all levels. And I still teach part-time at Scott Collegiate in the 50%. And that's where I can live in the gray area of being a teacher, but also being the executive director of the nonprofit that works in the building within Mâmawêyatitân Centre. So I wear multiple hats, but the focus today is talking about Growing Young Movers. So we'll flip the slides. About 3 years ago, the young people, we came up with a slogan of moving for change. So I just wanted to start with that because when we talk about all the things we're doing now, a lot of it is physically moving with physical education type things in a gym setting, like you'll see these young people standing in, but it's much more than that. We're physically moving and literally moving, but we're moving in different ways too to impact change for the young people. Just recently, and that's why I wanted to show these pictures, these young people that work with us are showing a translation of that slogan we created years ago, and it says "Quiski Pamatsuan," and that's a Cree translation, moving for a better life, moving in a positive way, which all these young people do. So I just wanted to start, as I always do, with photos of young people, because that's what it's all about. So flip the slide. Just real briefly, things we're trying to change. Pardon, it's maybe not so clear. This was just cut off of a document. So just the societal perceptions of North Central, which is well documented as it's a rough place, it's a tough place, there's a lot of negativity to it. But we know that's not the only story of this community. And the young people, the perception of Indigenous youth in our city and in our country, and they're working to shift that. Graduation rates, I'll touch on in the next slide. Employability, just more opportunities for these young people to showcase the skills and talents they have. So that's how we position the young people. It's from a strength-based position. It's not a deficit. We're not trying to fix anything. We're not trying to mold people into something else. We're just trying to provide the opportunities for young people to showcase the skills and talents they have. So flip slides. The realities are, though, in our province, graduation rates for Indigenous youth haven't really changed in the last decade. I'd even say 20 years. You can see the numbers. Graduation rates for Indigenous youth in a 3-year or 5-year are much lower than non-Indigenous youth. And then you can also see the work of Growing Young Movers, and anyone who's been an employee of us for a year or more is graduating at a rate of about 88% right now. And many will tell you the reason they started working with us is to make money, which I have no problem with. But many will now tell you that it isn't why they continue to work with us. So I'm not one to read the words, but you can see some of the words of mentors on the screen. So graduation, we believe, is a ticket, is attainable for everyone if the supports are there. And that is one of our main goals, because we know more doors open when young people complete high school and then can transition beyond high school. Flip to the next one. Back to employability. Again, the reality still is that Indigenous folks are, their unemployment levels are higher than non-Indigenous. We know that we need to do work on this as a society. And we now offer paid employment to over 70 high school youth and graduates of Scott Collegiate through the work we do. And I'll touch on it briefly after. It's helped young people provide for themselves in some cases because they live by themselves. It's helped young people support their families. Many great things come from first employability. First employment allows them to understand the world of SIN numbers and the world of paychecks and bank accounts, which some people take for granted. But if folks leave high school or never get those documents in place, it's hard to see further employment as they move on. So we've tied employment to school. So in a nutshell, and I say this all the time, we literally are paying kids to come to school. And I am proud to say that, because I think if we continue down the path of what school looked like 40 years ago and expect changes to be made in graduation rates, we're fooling ourselves. So if kids attend school and are doing the things they need to do in their classes, in their courses, they have opportunities to work. So that's pretty powerful. Next slide. And this all comes back to belonging too. So it's a mentorship approach where the young people that are high school students or, graduates of Scott Collegiate that still work with us, they're mentoring, working alongside young people in the community. Elementary school kids come to this center for our programming every day. The Mâmawêyatitân Centre is surrounded by 4 elementary schools. And like Dave said in earlier remarks, a high percentage of folks in this community are Indigenous peoples. So these young ones are seeing high school youth employed, staying in school, being kind people, seeing that story of graduation, seeing that story of employment, seeing that story of potentially further education as some of our folks move on to post-secondary. And it's a belonging piece for our team. That is the biggest takeaway I think I can say about what GYM has done with youth is we've made it a space where they all feel like they belong. And we know if we're trying to curb those notions of gang and recruitment and violence and those things, belonging is a big part for everyone. That's why people seek it. And we're offering belonging in a positive, I guess, structure at the Mâmawêyatitân Centre, where these high school folks and employees with GYM are in a position of offering guidance and mentorship to young people, which empowers them, makes them feel great about themselves. It is the reasons a lot of them are coming to school. Forgive me, Dave, I don't even know what the next slide is. It might be the end of it. So I can just talk a little bit more and then I'll turn it back over. We've expanded with the funding from BCSF, BSCF, and we've also started employing young people in this school to do other jobs. So we hand out food to the public every day. We bag that, we organize that, we sort that, we pay high school kids over their lunch hour to hand that out to the community. We've started other mentorship programs like construction clubs and cooking clubs where we access the commercial kitchen. We hire students from Scott that work in that pathway, which they are gaining these skills of cooking, and they get to work alongside kids in a cooking club. So we've expanded tremendously over the last 8 months. We've grown our number of staff by, I think, 65%. Like I said, we have over 70 young people working currently, other staff as well, some full-time staff, adults who work in the building with us to help coordinate everything. And just to wrap up, it's if anyone's interested in knowing more about our organization, you can reach out through our website or we can provide information on it. But it's a different way of approaching school. It's a different way of working with young people. It's certainly about belonging, and it's certainly about creating a space and a model, if you want to call it that it's not about reacting to what's going on in the community, but it's being getting ahead of everything as far as working with young kids and helping them see a potential story that maybe they wouldn't have seen otherwise. So I thank you for letting me share a little bit about what we do, and I'll turn it back over to whoever's next. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.